This is an 8-iron, and it's a dead shank.
Wow.
Way right.
Oh, takes a hop
shank.
off the path.
You got to be kidding me. Very tough pitch shot right here. You got to hit it into the hill. One hop up and bite, and it's in.
Kind of like that.
I would like to welcome the winner of 12 professional events, including 4 PGA Tour wins, Billy Andrade, to the Sub 70 podcast. Billy, thanks for taking the time today. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no worries. So hope everyone in the family is healthy, and just curious what you've been working on with this downtime. Is some practicing, doing some physical work? What have you kind of been doing to pass the day?
Yeah, it's this is really unprecedented times right now, and are safe as well. We're pretty hunkered down here in Atlanta. We're very, we're taking this quarantine very seriously, not getting out at all. I played one time since the Ho Classic at Newport Beach Country Club in early March, before things were shut down. I think it was the 12th or 13th of March. I haven't played. Our governor is kind of been disappointing a little bit, in my opinion, that he's letting golf clubs are open now. Restaurants have just opened, gyms have just opened. He's really relaxed some of the rules, and even though golf courses have been open, I haven't played. I don't know. I just don't have just don't want to bump into somebody and get sick, or I just think when quarantine says stay at home, I think we should all stay at home. So, what am I doing? To answer your question in a nutshell, I borrowed my niece's bike. I've been doing some biking in our neighborhood, which is very hilly and it's fun. I got a putting green in my backyard. I've been putting a little bit, but not a whole lot of golf activity. My wife and I played some pickleball in the driveway. Then I'll go downstairs and ride the bike and watch some TV. But trying to stay as busy as possible, but really not doing a whole lot. Yesterday, I FaceTimed with Brooke Henderson, and she's up in Canada. And I said, "So have you played any golf?" And she was like, "I haven't played at all since she left Florida 6 weeks ago." So it made me feel pretty good that if she's not playing and I'm not playing, that's okay.
So how long with this break will it take for you to kind of get back to tournament ready, not country club ready or playing with your buddies in Florida, but actually competitive against the best in the world? How long with this layoff will that process take for you to kind of get back in full swing of everything, no pun intended?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our season ends at the middle of November, and then we don't start back up until the end of January. And usually I'll play some if the weather's good in Atlanta, and then go down to Florida for a week and really work and practice every day on my game, my short game, and then get out to the first tournament. And you usually get to that tournament a little early and practice and get ready and then go for it. And you really don't know how you're going to react. I don't know. I'm 56 now. I've been playing this game a long time. And I feel like it's not going to take that long to get back into competitive shape. But the break isn't good for any of us, and it may take a little longer.
Since you are in your 50s and you're talking about that break from the end of the season on the Champions Tour to when you start practicing again, does your body at this point after that season almost need that downtime of even not much working out where you just have to let rest happen to kind of get ready for that next season?
Yeah. I've always been pretty religious in working out, and knock on wood, I haven't had any serious injuries. But, when the season's over, it's more of a mental thing, not a physical thing. And you're just kind of mentally a little drained from, the pressure of the whole year. and having a chance to, try to win the Schwab Cup or be in the mix. And it's been so much fun playing on the Champions Tour the last 6-7 years here, and it's always looking forward to a start of a new year. But it's not really, for me, it's never really been a physical thing. It's more of a mental thing where you're mentally fresher when you take that time away. So maybe this time right now is a good time as well, that we come back, that I'll be mentally fresh and ready to go.
Well, speaking of the mental side of game, it's always something that the pros are working on, and I know you've been fortunate enough to have one of the greatest elite mental coaches in the world on your side, Mr. Larry David. And how much reliance do you rely on, Mr. Sunshine, if stuff's not going right, to be able to call him and have you lift your spirits, tell you everything's going to be okay? I mean, that has to be a huge asset to use whenever you want it. And I don't think a lot of your competitors have that phone line to that kind of greatness.
No, it's just absolutely fantastic. He puts you right in your place. He tells you exactly the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts, but no, we've been friends for a while and played some golf together, and God, he's just a brilliant man. He's very, very funny, and our friendship has been a lot of fun. And I did a little fun thing with it and said that he was my mental coach when I went out and played in our second playoff event last October, and we went to dinner, and I took a picture and said, here's my new coach. But, over the years, thinking about the sports psychology, when I first got on tour, I worked with Bob Rotella for a while, and then later in my career on tour, I worked with Dick Coop, and two different types of sports psychologists, and two wonderful at what they did. And they both really helped me navigate through a long career on the PGA Tour, and I can't thank those guys enough for all the help they did for me over my career.
I do have to ask the one question, because I love the Larry David sense of humor in the shows that he's been, with it. In real life, when he's not trying to be funny, is there still some element of that personality in him 24/7?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
that's him.
No. When you're with him, you're in an episode, and it's just the way it is. This year, I showed up at his house. I just flew in from Atlanta. It was Monday night of that QQQ playoff event that we have at Sherwood out in Thousand Oaks, and I got to his house. He lives near Riviera Country Club, and he opened the door and he looked at me. He goes, "You flew with shorts on?" I said, "What?" He goes, "You flew cross country with shorts on." And I said, "Yeah, why? What's the big deal?" He goes, "I don't want to sit next to you and, sit next to a guy with shorts and with hairy legs. And, it's just, you got to wear pants. You can't wear shorts." And then, find out that he did an episode of Curb where he was on a plane and the guy next to him had hairy legs and had shorts on, and it bugged him.
You were living an episode in real life.
Yeah, I've done it quite a few times, actually. He had another one. We played golf at Riviera, and if you've ever been to Riviera, the driving range is not very big, and it's down the bottom of the hill next to the 10th tee. It's sandwiched between the 10th hole and the second hole, and they have a big, huge fence that goes around the left side of the driving range and around the back of the driving range, because if you hit it over the big net at the end of the driving range, you hit into the 11th fairway. And we go to play, and he's a little upset because Riviera Country Club, you have to have coins and put it into the machine to get balls. And he forgot his coins up in the locker room, and he had to go walk all the way back up to get coins. And he's like, this is a private club. You would think they would just have range balls on the driving range, but no, I got to go get the damn coins and all that. And then he comes back and he goes and he hits balls next to the fence on the left down at the end. And the reason why he was doing that is he was swinging the club and he was letting go of the club into the fence because he was trying to work on his follow through and work on his release. And I don't know what pro, what lesson, where he got that from, I have no idea. But that was at that time, that's what he was working on. He was working on his release and turning the ball over. And the only way he can do it is to just let go of that 5-iron right into the left fence.
Just flip it at impact, and the club pro guy would be proud, right? Just flip it at impact and let it go left. No, I'm guessing Butch Harmon did not send that one over to him. Oh my!
I don't think so.
See, there's an episode right there. I mean, I always go back to the one where the guy passed away and they had to get the 5-wood out of the casket. Is just classic, right? Of you can't let the guy take his club, but there's an episode in real life right there, right? Like Larry working on his golf swing, and then you could have been the straight guy, of course, looking at him. Who taught him how to? Why would you do that with a golf club? You've been around golf your whole life. You've never heard of this. Then you two could have argued about the merits of it. There's a curve episode right there. Oh, that's so great.
Right there.
And probably people in the range are looking at him like, I'm not even shocked that he's doing this at this point.
Not at all.
Exactly. That's so cool that you got to hang with him a little bit. Like I said, I love the sense of humor.
Yeah.
But back to the golf, the real golf here. You've had a great run on the Champions Tour. Last year, over $1 million in earnings. I was looking at the stats. You're playing some solid golf. A, what are you doing to have that level of consistency? And then B, what's the next step to get to where that level of consistency turns into, say, 3 or 4 wins, a season? Because you have to be close. Yeah,
it's, last few years have been some of my best, and also a little frustrating that I haven't gotten, I hadn't gotten to the winner's circle. I've come close quite a bit. Late in my 40s, I got hired by the Golf Channel to do some TV and take a little break from the game. My status wasn't any good. I kind of lost my card. I was asking for sponsors exemptions, and that lasts for about a year. And if you can't get your game back, it's hard to get sponsors exemptions because there's only 4 a week. So I decided to take a little break from the game. It was a perfect time with my family. My wife was going back to school. My kids were in high school and middle school at the time. And so I was home more and did some TV for 3 years when I was 46, 7, and 8. I played a little bit, but I only played a couple tournaments. And I really got a great perspective of the game. I got refreshed. And when I turned 49, I started practicing to get ready when I turned 50 and didn't do TV. My goal when I turned 50 was, I've worked my tail off my whole career. And sometimes it's not fun, when you're not playing great and you're trying to get your game back and you're constantly the mental grind of, is this coming week going to be the week where I, turn things around? Or am I going to miss another cut? I mean, it's a lot of pressure that you don't realize it when you're in it. But looking back on it, especially towards the end of my PGA Tour career, when you're not as competitive and you're not as consistent, I should say, that when I going to the Champions Tour, my goal was to have fun and just enjoy this. I worked my tail off to get to this point. I have status. And I'm going to come out here on the Champions Tour and just really enjoy it. And if I play great, fine. If I don't play great, it's not a big deal. This life and death thing and putting pressure on yourself, to try to succeed, to try to get better. And with that mindset, with that attitude, I've really, my Champions Tour so far has been it's been a phenomenal run of having a great time, and then the success that comes with it. And, the last couple of years, probably more consistent, knocking on the door. The thing with all sports, and especially in golf, in that you got to get a little lucky too. You got to catch a break. I won the Schwab Cup final my second year on the tour, for my third win of that year. I think it was 2015, and I beat Bernhard in a playoff. Well, on the 71st hole, I hit a 5-iron, and I was trying to hit a little cut to a right pin, and I kind of flip hooked this thing, and it was way too much club with a hook. With a little fade, it was going to be okay. And I hit it over the green. It was up a desert mountain. It hit a rock, and the ball bounced back on the green about 20 feet. And normally, I mean, when you're on the second to last hole of the tournament and you hit a shot that bad, normally that you're making a double bogey and you're going to lose the tournament. And in that situation, the ball hit the rock. It came back on the green, and I made par. I birdied the last hole. I got in a playoff, and then I win the playoff against Bernhard. And I got a little lucky. And I think, the last year or so here, I've been knocking on the door quite a bit. And, just other guys have played better. You got to tip your cap. What do you do to get to the next? I mean, that's such a cliche question that everybody asks. What are you going to do to get to the next level? Well, I think I'm at the next level. It just so happens that you're there. You just got to keep getting there. And then, maybe one Sunday afternoon, you kick in a 40-footer on the last hole to win, or somebody else doesn't birdie the last 4 or 5 holes to beat you by a shot. Crazy things happen in those last 9 holes. And if I just keep giving myself the opportunity, I think I'm going to do just fine here the next 4 or 5 years.
So interesting that, and I know it is a cliche question, but I was just more curious of, because you guys are always trying to get better. Right, and was there a little something that you're trying to no, I've really been focused. I looked at my stats last year, and I'm working on this. And it's almost like you guys on tour always. There's never just complacency. At least from the 100 guys I've talked to on the podcast, I get the sense that without that journey of trying to get better and improving, you don't get to the level. I mean, you played, the tour forever. You don't get to that level of excellence without having that inner drive of improvement and getting better, I'd have to imagine. So I was kind of going more from the question from that standpoint. Is there, and obviously you're playing some great golf and have done it for, your whole career. You can't do what you've done without that. But was there a little thing or here that you're like, I'm really focusing on, my wedge game I'm just 80 yards in or something like that. It's always interesting to talk to the guys and say, what are they sort of trying to fine tune, for lack of a better word, right? I mean,
I would say, absolutely. Inside of 100 yards is so big, especially on our tour. The golf courses aren't as long and demanding as the regular tour, so you can have a lot more short clubs in and wedges in some of the holes. And if you look at the guys that have dominated the Champions Tour, just go right down the money list from Hale Irwin with 45 wins, Bernhard with 41 or 2 wins, Jay Haas is up there, and all these guys are great players inside of 100 yards, great players inside of 100 and say 40 yards and in. So if there's no secret. If you can get these clubs close to the hole, and you'll have your higher percentage of chances of making birdies, and then putting. It's all about, if you're putting well. I think the last few years I putted okay, and it stretches, but not. I haven't just been unconscious, and I'd like to get to that point of having a few weeks where you're making a lot of putts. But I think that every player says the same thing. And that was one thing interesting about doing TV that I did for 3 years was I always had, the top player. So if it was Woods was playing, I was following him. If it was Phil Mickelson, I was following him. If it was DJ, I was following him, whoever. And I kind of realized, I think all players think that all the best players and all the guys that are winning, they make everything. And then you go out there and you follow with them and you realize, you know what? They don't make everything. Nobody does. We all think everybody that's winning is making every putt, and they're not. And it was just a great perspective. The one thing I did learn following a lot of these top players was how great they chipped it. and how great their touch was from 50 feet on a green, where the stress, the 5-footers all day long of stress trying to save par. If you miss a green, you chip it to 6-7 feet. These guys are chipping at tap-ins, having 40, 50-foot putts on a hole and putting it up to a tap-in. When you're tapping in all the time, you talk about less stress versus more stress, or you got 5-6 footers all day long for par. Eventually you're going to start missing a few of those, and then it kind of wears on you a little bit. So I would say, to answer your question, always trying to work inside of 100 yards, wedges, working on wedges, trying to get them close, keeping the ball flight down instead of getting it up in the air, because the higher it goes up in the air, it could go anywhere, and working on your putting and trying to get that flow going. With me, it's all about flow. I kind of compare it to Shaquille O'Neal on the free throw line, and then you got Ray Allen or Steph Curry on the free throw line. And the difference between the two, Curry and Ray Allen have a perfect routine. Everything's the same, beautiful flow. And then you got Shaquille O'Neal on the free throw line, and he looks awkward. He doesn't look like the ball is too small for him. It looks like he's kind of pushing the ball instead of stroking the ball. So a lot of similarities between those two, and all I try to work on with my putting is just a good routine and having good flow.
It's interesting from the TV side that you kind of learn that from watching the players. And then when you were playing the tour, you played with the best players on tour for 20 years plus. Was it one of those things where you were so involved in your game when you're playing, you just don't really notice what the other guys are doing? And now when you have to cover it and comment on it, it's just a different perspective that kind of allowed you to gain that knowledge?
Absolutely, yeah. When you're, I mean, in 2000 was arguably, people will say it was the greatest year of golf that one player has ever had, Tiger Woods. In the calendar year, going with the Masters in 2001, he won 4 majors in a row. And in 2000, I played with him the first 2 rounds of his 15 events that he played. I think I got paired with him like 7 or 8 times. And I had his scorecard a few times, Jay. And I'm telling you what, the first round, normally in the rounds that I played with him, he played not very good. And then you add it up, and I played okay. And I add it up, and I go, well, I got his card, and I know I played so much better than him, and he shoots 68 or 9, I shoot 70. And then the next day he would get, Tiger's MO was he starts slow, and then usually